All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the lightweight division. We have great fights coming up over the next 2 weeks. Something that Floyd Mayweather Jr., CEO of his promotional company, Leonard Ellerby, had to say about Gervonta, Tank Davis, and Devin Haney. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are in the lightweight division for this video. Gervonta Tank Davis has a fight coming up this weekend with Rolly Romero, and then the next weekend after that, Devin the Dream Haney fights for undisputed in Australia against George KAMBOSOS. Leonard Ellerby talks about making the fight between the two and between the winner of the two fights. And let me tell you, man, his take on it is interesting and it is true. But before we talk about that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber to the channel, thank you for your support on the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Your support is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, man. So we got 2 big fights, back-to-back weekends. This next weekend, we have Gervonta Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero for a mandatory, Rolly Romero getting a mandatory shot at the belt that Gervonta Davis holds, which is the WBA regular belt. Now, the fight will be held in Brooklyn, New York, and is anticipated once again to be a sellout for Gervonta Tank Davis. If this is another sellout, it will be I think the 7th time that he has sold out an arena in the last 7 fights. He sold out in LA. He sold out in San Antonio. I think LA twice, Baltimore, also Atlanta, just everywhere the guy's gone for the last several years. He's been able to sell out arenas. He's also going to be on pay-per-view. The pay-per-views do decent numbers on pay-per-view, but extremely good numbers when you compared to anybody that is not in the welterweight division or higher. He's probably the number 3 selling guy in boxing behind Canelo Alvarez, Errol Spence Jr., and I suppose Terrence Crawford's last Tyson Fury's last pay-per-view. The dude for a lightweight 130 pounder is just a really, really big name. But this fight, however, should be something where I think we know the outcome of it. Rolly he's a tough guy, strong guy. He's gonna come out there coming to win, but just doesn't have a lot of experience and is not, I don't think, the same skill set and the same level of fighter that Gervonta Tank Davis is, even though there are other people out there that think, Rolly can figure out a way to get past him. He's too big, he's too strong, all that type of stuff that I don't see. But hey, man, it is possible. A lot of different things have happened in boxing. We've had instances where, Vernon Forrest lost to Ricardo Mayorga, and Ricardo Mayorga was not the most skilled guy in the world, and Vernon Forrest, the rest in peace to Vernon Forrest, looked like he was the better, more skilled fighter, had won, got his championship off of Shane Mosley. But hey, man, the awkward, big punching guy in Antonio Margarito got the win. So, those type of things have happened before. I don't anticipate it happening in this fight, though. But, it is what it is. We'll see. Now, however, though, after that fight is over, assuming that Gervonta Davis wins that fight, people are going to want to know and going to want to see him fight the winner of the fight that takes place the next weekend, which is the winner of Devin Haney versus George KAMBOSOS, or to put it in order of champions, George KAMBOSOS versus Devin Haney, right? Because that is going to be for the undisputed title at in the lightweight division. And what you'll have, no matter who wins that fight, whether it's Devin or whether it's George KAMBOSOS, is you're going to have a 2 polar opposite things going on in that weight division. One is where you have the big money guy that does not have a major championship belt, and then you're going to have a guy with all 4 championship belts that is not a draw, is not a big name, right? So what does that equal, right? You have a situation where the guy with 4 belts is more than likely going to be chasing the guy with no belts, and that is what Leonard Ellerby said. Leonard Ellerby was like, look, people want to make that fight between the two of them. But are those guys big name fighters? And his take is, how do you define the word big? How do you define the word big? Are the belts what make you big? Or is it the fact that people actually want to tune in and people want to go see you fight that makes you big? And, from a competitive standpoint, I would say, as far as what's going on in the ring, I would say, hey man, it may be the belts. But when you talk about what, in a professional sport where it is prize fighting, it's the guy that is going to bring the biggest prize to the table, right? So you get, like peanut butter and chocolate, man. In both situations, in the best situations, you bring them together and you got a peanut butter cup, right? Who doesn't like peanut butter cups? So if you can make the fights together, if you bring them together, you'll have a big fight. Now, the funny thing is, though, that, and this is something that I tend to agree with, is that, when Leonard Ellerby says, look, man, it doesn't matter if Devin Haney, and he's speaking specifically of Devin Haney, he said it doesn't matter if Devin Haney has 49 belts. He's not beating Gervonta Tank Davis. So there's the question is, who is the better fighter? And I've said this before, and I think this is a fair thing to say about that lightweight division. The best fighters in that division have not fought each other. You have a scenario, we have a couple of the top fighters that have fought each other, specifically the guys over there at Top Rank, right? The guy where you have Vasily Lomachenko fought Teofimo Lopez, both under the Top Rank banner, right? And then you had KAMBOSOS come in as, pretty much a guy that was supposed to be harmless as a WBO mandatory and beat Teofimo Lopez. But those guys, none of the top guys have fought each other, and up until this point in time. So the question of who really is the best guy in that division is for the belts or with the belts or without the belts is still up for grab, man. My bet is that it's going to be one of 3 people. It's going to be either Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, or Vasily Lomachenko in my book. However, I have a suspicion that after that fight between Devin Haney and George KAMBOSOS, we may have to have KAMBOSOS in that conversation, because it's going to be tough for Devin, even though I do hope Devin wins, and I'll pick Devin to win because I'm going to go with, who I actually believe is the better fighter, and that's Devin. But, there is a significant chance that it may pop out and be George KAMBOSOS, right? But in any one of those scenarios, if Top Rank is in control of that, is Top Rank going to really want to make the fight with Gervonta just because it's a big fight? And that may not necessarily be the case, man. Those guys over there, Bob Arum and those guys they tend to want to keep the belts to themselves and have their fighters fight each other. And they may not be willing to take that risk and pay to have Gervonta Davis fight for all 4 of those belts. So my thing is, even after all of this is over, we're probably going to still be in the same situation where it's tough to get these guys to fight. Now, I know that Gervonta Davis is, a free agent, and may, change promotional outfits after this fight with Rolly Romero, but more than likely he's still going to stay within the PBC, even if he isn't being promoted by Mayweather Promotions, which honestly I still think there's the highest likelihood is that he continues to do that and those guys work something out. But I like the fact that I agree with Leonard Ellerby, man, that really the number, especially in that particular weight class, that those belts right now do not reflect who the best fighter in that division is, and that with Gervonta Davis having developed the type of fan base that he has, those guys are going to have to come to him. George KAMBOSOS himself had already acknowledged that and said, yeah, with Gervonta Davis, I probably have to go fight where he is. And hopefully he'd be willing to do that in the next fight. And we actually get to see, that matchup take place. And then maybe, after that, because Gervonta will beat George Kambosos, especially if that's not in Australia, we get to see the rest of those guys match up. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.